Hey, what are you getting so worried about? What's the big deal? It's not personal. You know what? It's always personal. Stay tuned. You know, I suspect that all lawyers have this situation come up occasionally. You know, from time to time, I get really involved in the minutia of a deal or negotiation in a case, and I geek out on some contract term or some nuance of copyright law. And at that point, I'm really not thinking about the people involved. I'm not thinking about my client or maybe who's on the other side. It's all about solving a puzzle or getting to an answer. And, you know, if the research or the documents or the contract language leads to a harsh result, well, that's too bad. You know, it's not personal, is it? Not too long ago, I had an experience that actually reminded me that it's always personal. It was a few weeks ago, and a client of mine that's in the creative industry called. It was Friday morning and got kind of a frantic call. And the client had received notification via a social media post that had challenged an article that somebody at the client had written and said that that article that they had published was actually plagiarizing and copying somebody else's article. And they had threatened to, you have to take it down and own it by noon today or they're going to blow it up all over LinkedIn and Facebook and everywhere else. The client was very upset because, as we learned, the client, the most recent article that had been the subject of this complaint was actually largely a follow-on of a series of articles that client had written over about a 7-year period of time. It was the client's own material that had been repurposed. It hadn't anything to do with copying some other article, and frankly, there wasn't very little that was similar. I quickly prepared a letter, a response. We marshaled all this information, and at 11:58 that morning, 2 minutes before noon, we got the letter out to the other side via email, explained everything, and then we waited. And a few minutes later, the complaining party ended up posting a big post. And they made some generalized threats, but they didn't mention the client's name, and nothing came of it. Crisis averted. Fairly standard morning in some ways for a lot of lawyers, and I didn't think a whole lot about it. We went on with our day and it was great. But the following Monday, I got a text from the client. And it was a personal, and it was simply a thank you that he was moved by the fact that I had his back. And those were the words he used. I felt like you had my back. And it struck me. One, clients don't owe that to us, but sometimes it's nice to hear that. But two, I just thought I was doing my job. And it's true that I was. But to him, my job was personal. And that was a great reminder. And then just the other day, I had a chance, one of my sons and daughters are doing a series of interviews with my father to sort of capture some of his memories. And I was sitting watching them, looking through some of the rough cuts, just sort of looking over their shoulders to see what they had. And you know, as a screen lawyer, I have viewed thousands of hours of content for clearance purposes and can you use this image and that sort of thing. And there's people in it all the time. And I'm not really thinking about the people, only whether they signed a release. But seeing my dad on the screen brought it back home to me that every single person that we deal with, who's on a screen, who's on an image, or who's in our office, is a person. And what we do for them is personal. That was a great lesson for me. Hope you have a great day.